Hello everyone, welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with me, Anne Welsh. Today I'll be doing an author book review, talking with an author who's just written a book called Stabbed in the Back. This book is just being released, but it's got so much great reviews because it talks about a woman and her pain. As you know, Painless Universal is not only talking about individual pain, it's talking about health or just sickle cell pain. We talk about universal pain, corporate pain, economic pain, government pain, community pain, and individual pains. And I also want to reach out to various authors who are making a difference. Meet this wonderful author as she joined this platform today to tell you her story. Hello everyone, welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself, Anne Welsh. Today I have the gorgeous Dinara. What fascinates me really about her is the book she's written. She's just written this book called Stabbed in the Back. You hear the name and you think of all sorts of things, but this book is really meaningful and it has a big meaning to others. Thank you for joining me on this platform. Thank you so much. How are you?
Thank you, Anna. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's my pleasure.
Okay, I'm really glad you took the time out. I know today's a very sunny day, but we needed to get this done because your message was absolutely clear. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you and you to tell us a little bit about who you are.
It's very difficult to define myself, but I am a woman who was born in USSR very long time ago. My birthday's coming up soon. But I was born and I grew up in the USSR and I had a dream to move to the UK. Wow. So now I'm an accomplished IT professional. I'm a good mom, hopefully a good wife, and a new author now for the book.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's amazing. And what led you to write this book? Because I believe this is one of your first books, but what led you to write this book, Stab in the Back?
Yes, indeed. It is my personal tragedy, which I want to turn into something positive.
Oh, wow.
So it is a very therapeutic autobiography. And something happened to me in hospital during the childbirth, and I couldn't hold this in my heart. I did hold it for a few years, but I decided to write a book because I think I have an important message to say to many, many women out there. And I give quite good advice.
Wow. And how did you come about with its name, Stabbed in the Back? That's quite deep. Yes. So how did you come up with it?
Yes, I'm holding this book.
Yes, that's the book.
Yes.
Lovely book, yes.
So the book, where do I start? It has a very strong meaning, obviously. It's very catchy, but my book has a very compassionate story to tell. That is actually what happened was, if I can say a little bit more and reveal a bit more from experience, when I had a childbirth epidural, and when I had it, it felt as if I had been stabbed in the back. So this is where I got this title from.
Wow, that's that name, because it's a very catchy title. It's a title that you listen to, you get. If I'm in a bookshop and I see that title, it's one of the book I would definitely want to pick and read to know more about it. So can you tell us about this pain that you suffered that led you to write this book, to create awareness about this condition?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be a very rare condition, but through my research and through talking with many doctors, it's actually quite under-recognized condition. And I'm in direct contact with the Arachnoiditis Research Foundation in the United States, specifically with Dr. Tennant, who is actually saying that it's quite going quite pandemic. So the way it happens is that if a child epidural goes astray and it's not performed as it's meant to be, over time it can cause a neuroinflammation, and the neuroinflammation causing pain across the body.
Wow.
widespread pain.
What is the name of this condition then? What is the name?
The name of the condition is arachnoiditis.
Wow.
So arachnoiditis, it's one of the layers that protects the spinal cord. It's a very delicate membrane called arachnoid. I had to become a doctor to learn the spinal column. But it happened to me, and it's very difficult to diagnose sometimes. And this is something which needs to be raised awareness.
The process of being diagnosed, how did you find out that you had this condition, and what process did you have to go through before you actually were diagnosed with the illness?
So obviously, originally I went to GP and started complaining about the pain and aches. And they took my blood test, started ruling all the things possible for any vitamin deficiencies, any known, maybe commonly known diseases, and everything came clear. So the results were clear, everything was fine. Then as a result, then I went back and forth, and this is the story where I'm actually calling it a journey, because it was a true journey to get to the stage where I got to know the name myself. I didn't know what it was. Obviously, I'm not the doctor. There were lots of, and the more doctors I saw, the more diagnoses were thrown at me. You know, some doctors were saying it's psychosomatic pain. Some doctors thought that it was just due to the childbirth. And any woman goes through this and has aches and pains, so I needed to take some time to get better. But unfortunately, the pain did not leave me. It got worse and worse over the years. So I started going to the doctors abroad. I went to France. I went to Russia, where I come from originally. And the doctors there had mixed diagnoses as well. One diagnosis which they agreed upon was the neuropathy. So it's like the burning metal beating like pain across the legs. But there was no understanding as to what was the cause of it. And then finally, I got to a neurosurgeon in Oxford who suspected this diagnosis, and she actually put it in my medical notes. And since then, the journey became easier and quicker, because thanks to the social media forums, and thanks to people on the forums asking a similar question, I got to learn where I needed to go to for my diagnosis.
Wow. So anyone who reads your book, for example, what would they learn, and what would be the inspiration behind reading your book? And
yes, so first of all, this book and the message is clear. You are not alone. If you're in pain, you are not alone. Don't be alone. The second message in the book is before you agree to any medical interventions, please familiarize yourself, because doctors might not have time or might not go through all the side effects of medical interventions. And it's something that every woman needs to be aware of. And the third message is about transparency. We as patients, we might agree to something, to some procedures, but what's important is, and it's not only about the doctors, it's the whole antenatal community, I would say, or ecosystem. It's everywhere you go, please be aware, if you agree to a childbirth epidural specifically, there is this risk that you might get arachnoiditis. It is a very rare side effect, but it is there.
And so, for example, because I had epidural, for example, how would I know I have this illness? How this pain, or what's different from normal back pain?
Well, that's the thing is, obviously I'm not a doctor myself.
No, I know,
but
yeah.
I had to become one to realize it is first of all, it is a nerve pain. So for me, it started with the back pain. But then, the question we all need to ask: why is there back pain after you had epidural? What might a doctor nicked or pulled or tweaked, that because you're not supposed to have a back pain. Unless obviously there are some structural issues with your spine, or there is a pinched nerve which can be seen on MRI. And the challenge with this condition, arachnoiditis, and this is why I put it on the cover, is that before agreeing to any diagnosis, you as a patient need to to ask a doctor to rule out everything, especially if you had a childbirth epidural.
Oh, I see. So after living with pain, during that time when you were living with pain, what advice did you give advice in the book on ways to live with pain and still find solution? Are there advices in the book that people could read, that because we know you were suffering, but how did you overcome your suffering?
Yeah, so I do share with my readers about the ways to alleviate the pain, to help the pain with such techniques as meditation, accepting it, accepting this condition, and trying to live with the pain rather than rather than trying to make it. Unfortunately, you need to, if you happen to be in this with this condition, yeah, and if you happen to be in pain, I think you need to embrace it and live with it as your friend, and then kind of have to agree, don't stress out, eat nice healthy food, have a walk barefoot, and all these healthy tips.
And where can we find your book? Where can we buy it?
My book can be found only on Amazon. You can buy it as a Kindle edition, or you can buy it as a paperback.
Okay, so on Amazon, if I type in "stabbed in the back," I would definitely be able to find your book, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
And it does have some good reviews already by prominent doctors and by authors of a similar genre.
Yeah. So could you just tell us one more time, for those who didn't catch it, what is the name of your diagnosis, and how do people tend to get this?
The diagnosis is called arachnoiditis. It's the inflammation of the layer where the nerves, the protective nerves, are kind of glued together. And unfortunately, it's a side effect. It's a very side effect of an epidural or sometimes spinal anesthetics. There are many, many reasons behind, but obviously you can find it all online.
Okay.
In my case, it was as a result of a childbirth epidural.
And your final message of hope. What message of hope? If someone has been newly diagnosed with this symptoms, what is your message of hope that you will give to them?
The message of hope is don't suffer alone, don't be discouraged. It's not a terminal condition. Obviously it's not an easy condition to live with, but there is a lot of support out there. There is a conventional medicine and non-conventional medicine that can help you alleviate the pain and alleviate your symptoms.
I'm absolutely delighted you joined me on this platform to talk about it. As you know, this platform is also about other people overcoming pain. And you shared your various methods which you could use. And I recommend anyone, not just people suffering from their symptoms, but anyone who has any kind of pain, because I think you've also included method of dealing with pains in general, to go out there and go to Amazon and buy your book. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I really wish you all the best with the book, and we'll be keeping in touch soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.